What's going on, everybody? I'm Keith, host of Just Our Thoughts with the Fellas, where 4 to 5 of my brothers give their perspective on national as well as local news. We touch on some trending hot topics as well as culturally relevant news. We also get a chance to dive into some deep core conversations. Check us out live every other Monday at 7 p.m. You can find us on Just Our Thoughts on YouTube live, as well as Just Our Thoughts fan page on Facebook. Also, please don't forget to follow us on IG, JOT with the Fellas. Yo.
What's up?
What's going on?
What's going on, fellas?
What's good?
What's good, fellas?
What's going on? I got some sad news to share.
Sad news.
Yes, it's sad, man. It's sad news. It's sad news. For those that don't know, the Camden High ledge is no more. They tore it down the end of last week and did away with it. It was like a travesty. And for those that don't know, that the Camden High ledge was a Camden High sanctuary. if you know, everybody that was from Camden, they know about the ledge. Mm-hmm. We had people from other schools coming to Camden High just to sit on the ledge and hang out with us.
Yeah,
it was a good thing, man. We love the ledge. I hate to see it go, but
for those that were in the band, for some of us that were in the band, that were in the marching band and jazz band,
right?
We were in the band room a lot during lunch.
Right.
We spent a lot of time in the band room during while people. Well, I know people they were on the ledge during class, but
you missed a lot.
I definitely did.
Yeah.
I definitely did. What's up, Rob? What's up, Hov? What's going on, bro?
Hov in the building. What's up, Rob?
Because I'm gonna tell you one thing. I remember me and KD was in German class. The window of our class looked right at the where everything came together. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we see so much going on, and it was like, man, we need to cut. We wanted to cut class and be out there with everybody. Right, but even just being right there at the window, just seeing the happenings, man, it was like the ledge was the place to be.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And how about taking time out to go down, walk on down to the truck, the Panzerotti truck, or the cheesesteak truck, right?
Man.
And then bring the food back and then sit on the ledge. Now, I ain't gonna say I did this, but there was people out there who would cut and be out there 4th, 5th, and 6th.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So no more ledge, huh, Wardy?
Nah, no ledge.
Okay.
But it was a place. I don't think I spent a lot of time there, but like Ward said, you will always want to see who's who out there and what action is taking place. I just remember, just kind of leaving, really didn't linger at the ledge too much. Mm-hmm. Either we'll hop in Wardy car or somebody car and we would bounce out. Because it was a place where conflict occurred as well.
It did.
It was a place that conflict. So part of me being cautious, didn't want to spend a lot of time out there because there was some altercations or physical altercations that occurred in that area, and you never knew when something salacious would pop off. When Ward had posted that on Facebook, I said that the ledge was a place where the young girls would get picked up by older dudes.
Come on.
Yeah. All right. And I just remember seeing a lot of faces with these nice cars, and a lot of our sisters from Camden High School used to hop in and didn't return or returned at the end of the day.
Right.
So it was a place of pickup. It was a waiting area. It was a transportation area. It was a place of conflict, and gathering to see what the latest gossip or happenings was with people.
Right.
So, it may have been time to move on, because with this day and age, lingering isn't too, not a good option. Not a good option.
So true.
No, it's not.
Yeah. More of the smiles for the ledge.
But the kids can't go out to eat lunch anyway, so it was like the ledge.
You said it's time for it to go, huh? It was about time for it to be out, huh?
I mean, it served its purpose for a season, but in this time that we're living in, you don't want your children being able to have as much access like they already do. Right. Not that the ledge was going to provide more access than they already have at this point in time, but giving them another space to possibly linger and wander, or to get in some type of confrontation, just just lets another kind of air danger a little bit.
No more ledge, no more ledge, no more ledge.
More ledge.
No more ledge. Hey. Welcome everyone that's tuned in. Rob, Hove, Keisha Nichols, our sister. What's up, Nichols? Happy birthday, Keisha. Joining us. Welcome to everybody to our podcast, Just Our Thoughts with the Fellas. I'm your host, Keith Hall. Today I got the fellas with me. Before I go into the fellas, I want you to like, share our podcast. Continue to go to our Just Our Thoughts Facebook and Just Our Thoughts YouTube page, JOT with the Fellas on Instagram. Download our podcast, share it with all your friends. Last week we had some dope, interesting guests on. We had Elton Custis, we had Theo Spencer on last week. Today we have Sister Felisha Reyes-Morton, Councilwoman of the 4th Ward for Camden City. She's coming to speak to us, have a good, amazing conversation and to share with us. So come on, we want to give you guys time to share this podcast, share this conversation on your page, wherever you're watching, even if you're on YouTube. But today, I got the fellas with me today. As usual, I can't do this without by myself. Sometimes I want to, but I can't do it by myself. I got the fellas with me. Today. And here on Just Our Thoughts, we talk about national, we talk about local news, we talk about trending topics, current events. We definitely touch on culturally relevant topics, and we have some core conversations. But today we got a guest with us. Before I bring Sister Felisha Reyes-Morton on, I got to bring the fellas on. What's good, fellas? What's up, KD?
Yo, what's happening, Captain?
What up, bro? What's good, man? Hey, you got that Prince shirt on.
I never wanted to be your weekend lover. Purple Rain. Throwback.
Purple Rain.
Little throwback.
Ward Heen, what's good, Ward?
What's good, brother?
What's good, man? Glad to have you, Ward.
Love it to be here.
E-Dub, Capital.
What up? What up, INF? Good to be here, my good brother.
How's everybody, man?
Everybody's good, bro.
Everybody weekend good?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, not too bad.
A little short, but they always
came up with these 2-day off on a weekend. I don't know who came up with that, man. They should have came up back in the day when they decided to have 4 days of off and 3 days work. I don't know what they came up with that.
Hey, believe it or not, if it wasn't for the unions, you'd be working every day.
Yeah, I forgot. Wardy's a big union guy, man. We appreciate you, Wardy. And all the money that's stolen.
Listen, as slaves.
When we were slaves.
All the money that's taken, yes.
Them unions be robbing you, yeah. Them dudes.
Man, I'm paying all this money in the union. Whew. Yeah. But hey, I want to bring on Felisha Reyes-Morton, Councilwoman of the 4th Ward for the City of Camden, New Jersey. Felisha is born and raised in Camden. Miss Reyes-Morton's family immigrated from Puerto Rico to North Camden in the 60s after her grandfather returned from the Vietnam War. She lost her parents to the ills of incarceration and drugs. While being raised by her grandmother, she moved from her Parkside home and ultimately continued school at the Camden Academy Charter High School. In 2010, she received a Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice and Spanish, then obtained a master's degree in Public Policy and Administration at Fairleigh Dickinson University in 2016. During her time at Fairleigh Dickinson, she became innately aware. That word beat me up right there. I got an upper tone on that. Innately aware of the impoverishment of her beloved Camden. The increasing crime and the decline of neighborhoods were unnerving. It was then that she knew that to make a positive change, she had to get involved. Ms. Reyes-Morton became involved in projects that would advance her community. Soon, she was elected as a member of the Camden County Democratic Committee. To effect positive change, you must get out and vote, stated Ms. Reyes-Morton. Simultaneously, she became vice president of a local community nonprofit organization concerned citizens of North Camden and assisted with recruitment and developed community partnerships in the North Camden community to provide a better quality of life for residents. Ms. Felisha Reyes-Morton was appointed to the City Council as the 4th Ward representative in February 19, 2019. Since in office, Ms. Reyes-Morton has accomplished so much. Ms. Reyes-Morton, welcome to Just Our Thoughts with the Fellas. Glad to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you. Thank you for joining us.
I was getting tortured while you were reading that.
What'd you say? Say that again?
I was getting tortured when you were reading that Bible.
Yes.
That's all you, Miss Morton. That's a lot. That's a long laundry list of your accomplishments and what you've been doing in your little bitty young life there.
Trying to keep it itty bitty.
So let's hop into it. And we want those that's watching us to chime in with your questions as well for Councilwoman Felisha Reyes-Morton, who is running for Camden City Mayor. So I'm in the Parkside area. I'm a resident. We all grew up here in Camden. Mm-hmm. And June 8th is the primary for the Democratic ticket. And, my vote is going to be cast on that day. One of the issues that I had with this whole process, and maybe you can kind of make it clear for me, if I could just throw one word at you, it would be transparency. And it seems like for a long time, Camden's had done a bad job at being transparent in a lot of different areas. As it pertains to politics, as it pertains to finances, as it pertains to just what's being done behind the residents' back. So the whole process of former Mayor Frank Moran abruptly resigning to City Council President taking over for a small period of time to now Councilman Vic Karstafen being named interim mayor. The whole process, just, and I'm not a big politics guy, but the whole process just kind of seems like it's moved into a direction where the residents don't really have a voice in these matters, not even initially, not even choices on the Democratic ticket, because you really had to be Inspector Gadget to really find out who was running. Was there going to actually be an election, or was there just going to be an appointment for Camden City Mayor? So can you just as we open up, is there anything you could say about just the whole process thus far, how muddled and how the lack of transparency has really put not just me, but a lot of Camden residents into questioning the validity of the process? And also, is this just another example of things occurring without wanting the residents' involvement?
So, yeah, I mean, all great questions, all great thoughts. And, exactly what you're thinking is what it is. And so, that was actually the ultimate decision-making issue for me in deciding, all right, I'm just going to jump in and, you might lose and that's going to be okay. But, it's time, right? Mm-hmm. And, when I said it was time, I was like, it's time. It's time to wake up this community. It's time to educate them. It's time to empower them. It's time to put these issues out in the forefront so that, we can all come together, because we're talented and we're capable and we can do this. And so we don't need anyone telling us what to do or how to do it. We don't need anyone babysitting us. What we need is to get ourselves out of this mess that we've been in for the last 2 decades, my entire life. And, our city people expect better. My kids expect better in the future, deserves better. And so, this is why I stood in office for so long too. It started off with a call like, hey, do you want to join school board? And I'm like, oh yeah, sure. Not really understanding what I was signing myself up for. So I get on school board, and I'm a 20-year-old with a not even a 1-year-old yet, and entering into this adventure. I just learned so much, read everything I could, attended every conference and training that I could, and then my family allowed me to, attend, because I would have to leave for a couple of days. Dad had to be full-time, and, he's an executive himself. And so, trying to keep that balance was important for us and our family. And so, I came back asking questions, sharing information, and, started putting pressure on our system, putting pressure on my fellow colleagues, just raising awareness about issues. And it could be things from the most smallest things to the most biggest of, ideas. But for me, it was always about process, transparency, and making sure that we're being equitable, most importantly. And second to that, it's all right, we're here to legislate and put policy forth. Come on, let's do it. Let's do our jobs. What are we scared of? Like, let's do research. You know what? We don't have the staff for it. Oh, well, guess some of us are just going to have to go in and, search it out, dig it out. But there are real issues affecting our communities and our Black and brown girls and boys and our families, and the ones that are documented and aren't, and so, our people need representation, and, we need someone who, understands what's going on around us and is able to understand the tactics of the system and how it works and how it engages with its constituents, and the way that it should be engaging, and someone, who understands, policy and administration and, the politics that exist that, sadly aren't going anywhere, right? They're going to be there. But there are ways that we can finesse and maneuver it to be a little bit more friendlier for us. And so that's going to take all of us to be doing it together to make sure we're all sitting at the table and acquiring all the resources and the power that we all deserve and that is rightfully ours. Sure. And, we'll negotiate at those tables about our communities and what is needed and what is wanted, rather than now where the conversations are being held and none of us are sitting at the table.
Right. Right. Now, following up with the transparency as far as getting the people knowledge, do you have any plans on like any ideas of how you would do that? Because I unfortunately I'm not in the city anymore, but my heart is still there. Yeah. But in my community, they have a newspaper, and it's always everything that happens in the town is in the paper, and they let everyone know. Is there like any type of like media, or because we know not everybody has internet, not everybody is tech savvy, so
Yep. So I know once the campaign is over, one of my next projects are going to be is I'm going to open up a civic leadership academy for adults, and it's going to be a hub in the community, and it's going to be centralized where it's easily located, and we're going to engage and educate and empower our people, and if they want to step into these positions, we're going to help them get there. The other way I currently during a campaign, the way that I'm doing it is trying to post as much laws that govern us and what we're all going through right now as the process is unrolling and unraveling. And so, like for city council, right, for the whole mayor resignment and Vic endorsement first, and then it was the president of council acting mayor, and then it was the actual alternate process, which was a recommendation of 3 names to council so that council could appoint rather than in the middle of an election. And so I'm not sure why the Democratic Party thought that was a grand idea. It was the worst idea, because all you did was upset people, right. Even more than what they already were upset and fed up about and for. And so, there were 2 laws. One of them is, the individual that resigned or stepped off is a part of a political organization, therefore, because it's a partisan election, therefore, the partisan, political group is privileged because of the law that they made on behalf of the state, which were probably made by the same, leaders in the party. So political, laws were made based off of political interest to serve the people, when in fact they suppress the people's voice right. and vote, and it just favors political parties and agendas. And so that's something that I've been really learning the inside about. It's very interesting. It's good political science, I guess. I didn't go to school for that, so now I'm diving into that through this process. But so that, right, and then you have like why didn't acting president just stay there until the elections were over, at least so it looks like it's a peaceful transition of power? Right. But the fact that he's just trying to shove someone down everybody's throat is just disrespectful. And so, being a part of that group, I have been caucusing with them, my tenure, and trying to work the system inside out. I just realized, this is where it's time to part ways. It's time to move on. At the end of the day, my first and foremost interest will always be on behalf of my people and my city, because I do not have to be here doing this. I could go anywhere and do anything and be very successful. I'm here. I chose to stay here. Me and my husband and our family, our girls, we made a commitment, and we're following through on that commitment and understanding all the challenges that exist and that may present itself in front of us. We're ready for all of those. And so, as we all know, right, being from Camden, we suffer and we grow through a lot of trauma. And so I think, we're really strong creatures and really resilient. And so I think, showing that and embracing that more, and us embracing each other more about those great qualities, is a good step in the right direction for future generations to avoid those, and get away with those generational curses that we have all been learning and going through.
Got you. So, Councilwoman, if my memory serves me correctly, we've had 2 female mayors in the past. We've had the Honorable Mayor Gwendolyn Faison and the Honorable Dana Red. If in fact you were to be elected as mayor, what kind of approach would you take to make sure that you are reaching the masses, like of all ages? Like my mom, she's still in Camden. My mom just turned 76 years old, and she's unfamiliar with what's going on. Is there a innovative way, besides, I heard you mention media, any other way to kind of reach the masses?
Right, and great question. And big ups to former Mayor Faison. When she was mayor, I lived in Parkside and actually lived down the street from her. So it was always kind of cool living down the street from the mayor when you were a kid. And big up to Mayor Dana Red. Someone I look up to very much, and even still today. She was very strong in her commitments and the decisions she made, that were very effective and influential in change and things of that sort, but there's still more work to do. And to think that we've kind of waved the victory flag, like, no, there's no victory yet. There's still work to do, and we can get it done. We just need to stop playing politics, get all together and get it done. And so but here we are, right? And then remember that run for Faison and Senator then Nilsa Cruz Perez, right, where Faison won. So if elected mayor, I'd be the first Latina mayor in the city of Camden ever. Right. And so I think that's a great accomplishment. If something to be aspiring to, one, but two, the fact that we know women can do the job, and we men do great work. Not, like, y'all awesome, especially
Father's Day is coming up, Councilwoman. Be careful. Be careful.
Be careful.
Father's Day is coming up, Council Lady. All right. We will shut this down now.
I don't give my husband enough credit. I really don't. So he would appreciate this. But women, we're strategic thinkers, we're implementers, we're go-getters, we're ambitious. We read between the fine lines. We make sure the bills are paid. I mean, I would treat City Hall as if it was my own home. And, I would take pride in that and make sure that we look good in front of everybody, and that everybody looks at us and doesn't feel petty for us anymore. Like, no, well, look at that. We're proud of Camden. Look at them doing their thing. Yes, we are, because we can. We most definitely can.
All right.
Awesome.
Can I answer the question?
What's that? I do have one of the things that I absolutely love about our city is, I would be able to go to school, and we all, went to Camden, matriculated through the Camden Board of City Schools. One of the things that I love was that, a lot of our teachers, they lived in the city, or they went to the school and then they came back. And, one of them is Sheree Huff and Wiles. And I wanted to use one of our viewers' questions. And, she's one that, teaches in the Camden school system, and she pushes hard, and she's always out there at basketball games supporting the kids. in a way that she does. And her question is, what is your perspective on our public schools? And what's your
on the
thoughts?
screen, Keith?
What's that?
Put up on the screen.
Oh,
Reyes. Yeah. There you go.
That's a great question. And you know what? I went to charter high school, right? Big news. Woo! But, I did go to Kramer Hill Elementary. I went to Parkside. Loved Parkside, one of my best years. Oh my God, the nurse was just so nice. Nurse Williams. Went to Hatch. And then bounced off from there, right? And so and I always say, right, I have the 4 and 5-year-old. I'm like, yeah, I can see me going back to the school board, because when they're in high school, I'm gonna make sure they got the best cheerleading outfits. Like, that is not good quality. We need to reorder. But a lot of adults are in the way. Like, we're not doing anything to service our kids. Like, where is the entertainment for them? Where is a world that is outfitted for their liking, and to their approval? Like, why are we all making decisions for the kids? And they're still in our streets, late night hours. They're still committing small petty crimes, getting in trouble, and having social issues. And so I think about all those things. So I think people like Miss Wilds and many others that are at these basketball games and supporting our kids and at these after school events and doing the tutoring. And now during the pandemic, everything's virtual. Like, listen, I have 3 that are virtual. Like, it is tough.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
As a parent, it's like, wow. And then so I can only imagine, teachers who are so used to hugging and kissing our kids and being there. I mean, we're at school most of the time and at work. So, that is our shelter. And so the fact that our kids don't have shelter right now, our adults don't have shelter right now, so something I think about constantly and, praying for often. But I feel like us adults, we're in our own way. We need to get out the way. We need to just focus on the kids. We need to empower our kids too. I'm looking forward to that. Like, I want to hear what our kids got to say. Like, I'm tired of hearing adults. Like, what do y'all want? All right, y'all want a dance room? All right, let's go. Get them a dance room. You want a PS5? Let's go. Let's get 3 of them in there with some couches and some cute pillows. Like, I want the kids to be able to come to our community centers and, have a free space for them to be themselves and not feel like they have to go to someone's house to get in trouble, or, be invasive of anyone else's space because they have a little space of their own. Right. And so I think our kids need that. And the more that us adults are willing to put in policies and recreational opportunities and, instill in our curriculum and wraparound services, things that support those types of, lifestyles for them, positive social lifestyles, so that when they become adults and they go into the real world, they're social and, they can figure out what they want to be and not having identity issues. Right. And so, those are all things I'm looking forward to doing as mayor. Those are things I'm looking forward to continuing to support and kind of bring awareness to. And, I'm always happy to support anyone in their endeavors that fits that description or that mission vision. And likewise, if there's anything that anyone thinks I feel like I should be doing or leading up or advocating for, let me know. I'll start it. I'll give it all the platform it needs, and then I'll just hand it off so that someone can, lead that effort and continue that for generations to come. But, our schools, I have this conversation often. I think each neighborhood, the school administration needs to work in partnership with each neighborhood. Right. Each neighborhood is so unique, and the challenges that exist and the needs that the residents need are also unique. And so once we begin to focus each neighborhood like it is its own identity, is when we'll start to do good things for the community that will address things like academic in our schools, public safety, beautiful parks, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, we're, we got this one medical, prescription that says 1 pill fixes all. Like, no, it doesn't. Like, there is more work to be done. Like, we need to involve our people. Like, they're going to tell us what they like and what they don't. And we're going to know not to piss off Ms. Jones. We know what Ms. Jones wants. Let's just get Ms. Jones what she wants so that she's not calling us 500 times a day. And so that's what I don't think we have. And it's like that culture, that neighboring culture. And that's something that, we did have before. I'm sure that you guys all have experience in, because in your time, we did have local police officers and teachers that, lived in our city. Right. And so, we don't have that. And so, trying to bring that back and trying to give incentives to, encourage those types of, Camdenites to come back.
How do you get the community? How do you get the city to buy into that when overall the city may feel as if they have lost trust, in the leadership? How do you get the city and the residents to really buy into that?
I would hold many more community meetings and town halls that have ever been held before. And I'd be giving those decision making, I would ask the public to make decisions on my behalf, so then I can make them to carry them out. And so that is how that will be. It's not like before, where administrations are used to making their own decisions with whoever they're making them with, and then we just have to eat what they feed us. Like, no, what do you want for dinner, right? And let's make it happen. I mean, it's all about what our residents need and the challenges that that they're facing every day. And so as mayor, it is nothing of me to get in a car, meet them halfway, meet them where they are, or walk there, or whatever, bike there. I mean, listen, I bike, I can jog to wherever, like where you want me to be, so I can be, so we can have a conversation about what's going on right now, so that I can just involve the directors, right? Let's involve our local government with the residents, that we start that rapport, that relationship, and I give the departments the support they need, fiscally and resourcefully, so that they can be effective and efficient. And that is what a mayor should be doing. So I just don't understand why we can't be there with so many past administrations. I mean, we've had some smart mayors, but I'm trying to figure it out, like what's going on here. Like, I don't
know. If I could jump in, just to shift the conversation just a little bit. Rob Tufnell had brought up an interesting point when he was talking about the police in the North Camden area, in downtown area. When you look at the redevelopment area in the waterfront, hotels down there, a lot of money is being put into the waterfront area to make it attractive. A lot of businesses to move in, to really attract more, I guess, more of the corporate type person to the waterfront area. Down Broadway, we see how that's even shifting to the medical institutions now, with Rowan and trying to bring some light to that area to kind of build it up. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that when you look at the downtown area, you see a lot of policing in that area, for Cooper and for near the transportation center, and then down by the businesses on the waterfront. And you see that area being the emphasis to really being built up, to make it attractive for businesses and things of that nature. My question is, what incentive would you offer to residents? I know we want to offer these incentives and things like that to these businesses that come in, and that's problematic too, because it's questionable whether or not they're hiring many of us who live in the city. But, just as much as the emphasis is on, beautifying the whole downtown area and waterfront area, but when you come away from that, you start to see the deterioration of homes, of grounds, the deterioration of roads and overpasses, the deterioration, even for residents who live in the city, who pay our taxes, and our taxes go up every single year. And, why is that when we're not really seeing our taxes at work? So, just, is there going to be that shift from emphasizing the waterfront area, the focus of Camden, to start saying the residents need some incentive to stay and to live here and to beautify their homes and their communities that they live in? What is your take on that?
Yeah, so I'm with you. And, the waterfront is part of the district that I represent.
Right, the 4th Ward.
And so, yes, I'm like, why do we have the Segway officers over here? I mean, y'all look good. Y'all look great. And even with the 4-wheeler, but that's what happens when you don't have a table with directors, with residents, with stakeholders, to talk about these issues. Because for me, it's a simple fix. This is how I would do it. What is the public safety plan around our parks? Because this is not the only park that we have in Camden. We have an entire, half of the city surrounded by, park development and space. And that's just on the outskirts of it, right? Like, what about our neighborhood parks, right? All the little parks that we have in the city. If we, were able to put a plan together that addressed public safety around all of that, then I wouldn't mind seeing them at the waterfront, right? But the issue is they're just at the waterfront. They have all this fancy and they're great, right? I feel safe when I'm riding my bike and I'm jogging in the morning sometimes when I can get it out there. And I love how comfortable and safe it feels, but it shouldn't be where people have to come seek refuge at this space, where they might have to drive or whatever the case may be, instead of being able to go and walk a couple feet from a park to where they live at. And so, that's something that we all need to be feeling in all of our parks. So I'm committed to that, and I've always been committed to that, and I'll continue to stay committed to that. Even in the campaign, what we've been doing is we've been kind of just popping up bouncers, food, vendors, and just letting the kids be kids. And we're just, having adult conversation, just enjoying one another. And it's been really fun. And so what we've been able to do with that is also displace all of the, legal activity that have been, there prior to our arrival for the moment. And residents are really grateful for that. And they're really happy, and it helps them mentally, and, especially with everything going on with pandemic. And so, it's been fun. Now, with the waterfront, police. So what was your question again?
Well, really, when you look at it, I want, the community I live in the Parkside area, I want the emphasis to be on the Parkside area just as much as it is in the waterfront area. Not just with the policing and the crosswalks and the officers there, making sure you get across the street on Broadway and things like that. But I want some of the emphasis to be on the Parkside area, or the
what incentives? What incentives?
Well, yeah, what incentives are will the residents have, or is there going to be some grants offered for my home and my area, my community, to say, look, we appreciate you living here, and this is what we're going to do so that you can stay and flourish, you and your family here in the city. Yes, the waterfront looks beautiful, but we want you and your individual family that you've been paying your taxes on time year after year. Your house isn't under the city lock and key, because you've been paying your taxes. How are you going to improve? I'm paying taxes for the roads. I'm paying taxes for sanitation, for storm. What incentive are you going to give me as a taxpayer and a homeowner of properties in Camden? What are you going to do to say, look, we appreciate you, we value you, and this is what we want to pour back into you?
Yep, I would. First thing I would do is put a city wage tax. I'm sure everyone that's working in these, magnificent buildings and have job opportunities, because our city was able to provide it for them, would have not a problem with donating $1 from their paychecks. And those funds could be used for, home repairing for homeowners. Because if we know one thing during this pandemic, it's the middle income families, have not been really receiving relief throughout this whole time, right? They've been doing very well with taking care of the people that are, in our systems, and we need to continue to take care of that vulnerable population. However, there's a lot of us that are struggling and living paycheck to paycheck. And relief for homeowners hasn't been something that has been embraced throughout this time. And we still have mortgages to pay. We still are getting the same effects of the light bills that everyone else is receiving, right? Electric, our health is also at risk. And with the kids being home more, expenses do inflate. And so those are one of the things, right? Another thing I would do is, why don't we have trust funds for these corporations to pay into, so that way we can provide and make incentives for things that are important to the community. And I would let the community decide what those issues are, right? Whether it's, listen, Mayor, some of us want to start buying our own homes and moving out of the Section 8 housing. We want to become homeowners. What incentives do you have for us to be able to acquire land or acquire a, building as is and be able to remediate or remodel, right? And we should be able to provide, grants that if they maybe go get $20,000, loan from a bank, which is a relatively small loan, not anything like super, but we'll be able to match that with another 20. And we'll be able to, buy some land and rehab it. And, to do a lot of other things like that. And I mean, even if it's using those funds also for park maintenance projects or whatever, recreational opportunities for our kids, I don't know, but the idea is, why don't we put these things in place, right? So that we can have a structure that's going to support it for long-term sustainability long after I'm gone. And so that, there's a best practice in place that the city now can, begin to build its, revenue, because that's something we need to do so we can stop relying on the state and federal government. And all the while, we're also supporting, our local residents who have been with us for so long and are still there hanging on, tight and, still have faith and hope, and people that really want to genuinely stay here, but it's going to take the city to be able to compensate them and kind of support them and provide them quality service for them to stay around, because listen, I don't blame them.
Right.
Now
Councilwoman, Councilwoman, when we're talking about funds and money, right? What can we do when the city receives resources and funds? I know that everything really boils down to the dollar. So when those resources and funds come in, is there something that can be put into place to kind of like make sure that the funds are allocated appropriately?
Absolutely. And every dollar does count. Yes, Mr. Tough, no, they can. And that's what we're talking about. They're gonna help our communities, and they would love to. Listen, I communicate with the big corporations when I'm, sharing them, organizations so that they can support and things like that, right? Because I'm the resource person. I'm supposed to connect everybody. That's what my real job is. I'm the funnel of communication. So they love helping our small, groups, and, they love helping our programs, but, we want to get them now focusing geared towards helping the residents, the homeowners, the bread and butter, breadwinners here in the city. Okay. So I'm sorry.
All right. Well, let me, since we're talking about tax dollars and things like that, with all these companies that are that did come into the city, and then even the one that has been in the city, got these tax incentives. Is there any plan on, is there any type of, can we revisit these incentives to take away some of these tax breaks? Because they're taking away a lot of tax dollars from the city, and then not even employing the residents to even make up and pay taxes. So is there anything that you could do to even revisit those deals, or or do you have a plan to even visit those deals?
So this was done by the state legislature, and so what I would do is, yes, as a mayor, I would absolutely study further into the details of those laws, and try to see if talk to people and see if there's even a quorum, or now with the Governor Murphy, who knows what his angle is going to be, right? It's going to take a collective body of people to be able to sit at a table and be like, listen, what can we do here to fix the wrongs, to make them rights? And so I'm always open in to having those conversations. I've had a lot of those conversations throughout the 12 years of me governing in my experience, so it's definitely something I'm not new to. And I've been in the rooms for a long time, and so I'm not a stranger to anyone. And so so we start there, right? But what I would also do to that is I would continue to educate the community, empower them, give them the resources and tools that they need so that they can also join me on this journey in advocating, for what Camden needs, and making sure that we can make it a priority, right? Because all politics are, a bunch of agenda items, and whose priority is it in leadership, right? Because they're the ones that can get it moving and, get it relevant, so to speak. And so we'll work together in making sure that happens. And then once it's there, then we'll have our list of demands and asks, right? Because that's the thing with our, urban cities is that, and, even our people, right? Like when we're conditioned and we grow up to, some of us never know we're going to be in a position where, we have to advocate, or that we're expected to ask for something once something is completed. But in fact, if you don't, we never get anything. And so, we're always giving, making the world a better place, but the world is not being better for us. And so being able to now, teach that to our people, and show them that it's okay to do that, and that, that they should have faith and, feel strong and be able to do that, especially when it's going to be for the betterment of their quality of life, is something I'm looking forward to sharing, and instilling into the culture. But it's going to take a collective body of us, right? But, we can do it. Nothing we haven't done before. The only difference is that now, we're all working together, and you have someone that's extending their hand and inviting you on the journey with them, not someone who, is making all decisions for you, and really not really engaging you, most importantly, not setting an infrastructure that even okay, if I'm in office and I made some crappy decisions, all right, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to make sure that I instill infrastructure into the system so that when I decide to leave, I'll turn my wrongs into rights so that you guys have a leg up that you can stand on when needed. And so that's something that, I feel like past leaders haven't done well, which is why we're in a position where we are, which is why I had to put myself out there to run to begin with. Basically, essentially sacrificing myself, right? And so, doing that. But no, our people shouldn't have to sacrifice themselves to have a right and a voice in their life, and and for government, to be exactly where it needs to be when those people make those decisions, and that's meeting them halfway, which is something our government is just not used to doing anymore.
Yeah, Councilwoman Morton, I want to go back, if you don't mind. I want to go back, and one of the things that we definitely created was a place where you guys can come on and be clear and be forthright, and be able to talk to the city of Camden and the residents. One of the questions they are closing down. I want to go back to the school one. They are closing down a lot of our public schools and opening up charter schools in the same neighborhood. How do you feel about that? What is your perspective on our public schools?
I understand the Renaissance Urban Hope Act, right? And, the culture shock and waves that sent to the educational system. Understand that. In Ward 4, with that law in place, I was able to advocate for North Camden's first high school. Now, removing that stigma of, the high in Woodrow Wilson, right? Like, listen, I went to a charter and I got, laughed and ridiculed even as being on the school board, right? You're a charter kid. You're not from Camden. Like, how absurd is that? And how disrespectful is that? Is that where you guys are telling our kids as they're walking to and from home to school? Like, that's ridiculous. And then you expect our, wonder why our kids have issues. Like, we're always labeling them. Like, what is that? No, none of that anymore. You can go to Camden High, Woodrow Wilson, or you can go to Pine Point High School and get a great education. And, I was just meeting with them 2 weeks ago. They're adding a whole environmental, outdoor lab to the backspace, and they're going to connect it to the Greenway and add environmental science curriculum to their curriculum so that our kids can, learn about their space, enjoy their space, and be able to have some relief in stressful moments, and, be able to, be equipped with the resources and knowledge to be able to navigate, our area. And so, the middle school, right, in Kramer Hill. And, what I believe that did was that it lessened the stress on our public school system. Now Cooper's Point could be the best that it can be because it's, managing a good.
When you say lessen the stress, how so? How did it lessen the stress?
With the needs that our communities have, and that, the congestedness of it in our public school system, and the fact that, our teachers and our administrators now have to worry about, teaching academically, providing resources, wraparound services, therapy, financial needs that, are existing in our community, and, a host of other, issues. And so, I feel that, with being able to, in the Ward 4, have a good mixture of not just parochial schools, because we have parochial schools here, we have public schools here, we have Renaissance schools. And so I think a balance, allows for families to be able to, pick and choose what they see as, best fit for their family in particular, because, my mom didn't let me go to Camden High, like, over her dead body. I mean, she stalked the high school, the charter high school, until they let her in. Like, I'm surprised they didn't call the cops on her. Like, get this crazy mom out of here. But, if it wasn't for that school, I would have been pregnant early at an earlier age. Probably wouldn't have went to college, like, and so, probably would have gotten in trouble, because I even got in trouble in my charter high school, but, you know, they knew how to keep my butt in line.
Right.
And so they were always just like very persistent. And so, you know, to them, really, I owe all my success, because they made sure, you know, when I was waking up late, like, bring your butt to school right now. And I was like, all right, I'm on my way. But no, I think that, you know, like I said before, we need to make these decisions based on a neighborhood per neighborhood basis. Each neighborhood has different needs and challenges. We got to make sure that our schools are being very specific to that neighborhood area or whatever, you know, their, you know, kids are coming from primarily, and that we're giving them the resources, not just academically, but, you know, financially, mental wise, spiritual wise, and like everything, to just make sure that they're the best whole healthy being that they can be. And not just for our kids, but our families too. And so I think that we need to put a stop to the growth, right? Like there needs to be some type of balance. What does that balance look like? It's really the question. And, you know, that could come in a lot of different forms. You know, I've always said, even when the whole Urban Hope Act first came years ago, because really when I first got on the board, that was one of my first tasks, but I was already studying the New Orleans model because of the Hurricane Katrina that existed and how that restructured their educational system. So really, you know, I kind of modeled that, you know, I kind of kept that in mind, and in focus when making sure that the Ward 4, you know, area, which is my first concern, you know, in my positions up until now that I'm seeking to represent the entire city. But, you know, making sure that those meetings included residents, stakeholders, administrators, making sure that there was, you know, full communication when all meetings were being held about discussions or ideas or plans, making sure that, you know, every concern for residents were like followed up on, or major ticket issues, making sure that if there was some type of negotiating that needs to happen between the community administration, that was able to happen so that the community can have a buy-in in those things. And yeah, we're always not going to make everyone happy, right? There are going to be some things that, you know, people are just downright not going for, and some of them are charter schools, and I get it and I understand it. We're talking about 100 years of education. New Jersey being, you know, bottom 3 for decades, understanding academically where our kids were just shocking to me. I was like, oh my God, no wonder I had so many issues. Like, we're here by miracle, like seriously. And so, you know, and even with that, our education systems are still changing. They're still evolving, and we're still not where we need to be. We're still not a 21st century education. And so making sure that Camden High, when that comes along online, we should be really having these conversations already. So the fact that Camden High is opening soon and we're not having this conversation worries me a lot. We need to focus on that. What vocational educational programs are we going to have? Who are we going to be partnering with? Or no, who's going to be partnering with us, right? Because I toured this union hall a couple of weeks ago, and they had a virtual simulator training room. I mean, I even sat in it and did, you know, some construction machine work, which I did pretty good, by the way. I was surprised, but I was like, see, I would have picked this career if I didn't go to college. But you know, being able to have those opportunities in our classrooms for our kids, so that they can get these good 6-figure jobs. Every college is not for everybody, right? And so, but trying to expose our youth to the labor workforce, and being able to give them all the tools that they need to be successful in those things, and to get comfortable prior to them stepping out into the real world is really important. And those are the things that we should be talking about when it comes to Camden High. So that's, you know, and I know that public schools and, you know, the whole education topics are, you know, can be, maybe we should do another session just on education, because there's so much about it.
Because to me, I hate to say it this way, but you know, are you more about better schools or making the schools better?
I am about both, because they comprise of a lot of things, right? First is infrastructure, right? So, I mean, listen, the school district has a lot of properties that are just sitting eyesores in our communities. One of them is in East Camden on 25th Street. The school looks up. I used to always hang out 25th Street when I was a kid. My mom owned a flower shop at the Federal Street Business Quarter. So I remember when I was at school, and there was a therapy little shop across the street where the car wash and gasoline station is off of Federal, and then across the street from the corner liquor store. But anyway, that school building is totally abandoned. Windows are busted out. Like, it looks ugly there. Like a ghost town in that area. Like, the buildings that the school district are still paying on, right? It's still affecting our budget, which is why we can't ever balance our budget, or one of the reasons. And so trying to figure out what we're going to do with these buildings, whether, you know, some of them we can repurpose them. Why don't we turn one into a boarding school for Black and brown boys? Why don't we turn another boarding school for girls, maybe teenage mothers specifically?
Isn't Cream still sitting there by itself?
Cream now, so Cream where? Cream in East Camden near
Ferry.
Off of Ferry.
Cream
off of Ferry.
Off of Ferry Ave, out
Centerville.
Oh, Centerville.
Yeah, that's still pretty much sitting.
I was just out there last weekend at my black party for the weekend.
Okay, right, and it's nothing. And that was a fairly new. That was a fairly new building.
I remember when they opened. I'll never forget. Aunt Dorothy Wyatt, man, opened that school up, man, as the principal. And
you worked there, Keith?
Like, what'd you say?
Didn't you work there at Cream School?
Nah, I just was there all the time. No, I was just there, still my aunt worked there. So, a lot of traditional school teachers worked at Cream, and Sheree says it's our early child care school.
It is. Yep.
Okay. So for years.
Because we need to
I'm sorry, say that again.
Child development center for kids in the city.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm glad it's up and running. It was desolate for a couple years. I would ride by there, and that was like another home to me, man.
Yeah.
Just riding by school. Now it hurt just like when they took H.B. Wilson and Morgan Village down, man. That hurt to my core.
That's right.
Yeah, and we could have another show on this whole school issue, but
it's so much.
It does appear that with the uprising of charter and Renaissance schools, that public schools are just a dinosaur.
Right.
Yorkshire pretty much had to fight and claw to save itself, because that's the only school in that area that will service the neighborhood. Any other school is so far away, and to think of closing down that school will put a lot of students and their families in a bind to find the local school that will service their child the best. So it just, from the optics out, it just looks as if the push is to just totally disintegrate the thought of public schools in Camden, and to see that as a thing of the past, and the wave of now in the future is Renaissance and charter.
Well, listen, you tell me something like that, I'm like, first of all, it's impossible. Let me see you do it somewhere else where they pay a lot of tax, and then you come back and tell me how that's working for you. Because if you can't do it there, you definitely ain't gonna do it here. That's just impossible. And so, no, public schools is the backbone of the education system and will always be. And unless somebody does some type of some new government, they're never going to be able to do away with public schools, no matter how much they try. Right. And so I think that's where, as a community, we need to come together, and let's remember why, the education system is even a system itself, and it was to provide equity in education for regardless of what color skin you have, right? And so let's continue to push that and challenge that, and making sure that they're not discriminating on our people in other ways, economically, health wise. There are a lot of ways, we're in a lot of statistics, and there are a lot of ways to label us. So let's make sure that, they stop labeling us. And you know what? They use those same identifiers, and instead of labeling us, they find the resources that we need to help address the issues. And maybe we won't be having these conversations much longer.
Right. Let me shift gears with another question for you. And thank you again, Councilwoman Felisha Reyes-Morton, for being with us on tonight. Take a little drink of water if you need to right now. Do you have one handy?
No.
Okay. All right.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
No, not you.
I'm talking to you. Jealous, Mr. Hall.
No. So you are Councilwoman for the 4th Ward, which encompasses the Kramer Hill section of Camden. Kroc Center is in that area. Federal Street going down towards North Camden, and the waterfront in that that's not really the South Camden, but the waterfront area there, that North Camden. So one of the things that came to mind while I was thinking about the ward that you serve, in Philadelphia, one of the most dangerous intersections is going down a Northeast Boulevard near Cotman. There's an intersection near Red Lion Road, where if you cross that street, if you touch foot trying to cross that street, you will get killed. State Street is notorious, right across from the Ablett Ablett Village section. There is a corner. There's a cornerstone on, I think that's Harrison and State Street, with all of these names of individuals that have died on that section of State Street because cars go flying down that strip of road. And it still seems to this day to have been something that's been unresolved. Maybe 2 years ago, there was a young female that was struck and killed. When I go to the Croc Center for workout, I still see the teddy bears and the balloons on that corner. Has there been anything to address, I know this is outside the scope of infrastructure and but it deals with public safety to a certain degree. Has there been anything to bring any light to resolve that issue? Because I don't see any, what's those, the bumps in the road to slow people down, the speed bumps, or any additional lights there. And when I'm going to work out, they're still just flying down there with no care for the lights. And you got Mastery School, you got a new school down there, and that poses, more of a hazard to these young children that are going to school in that area. What's been done in your ward, in your district, to kind of look at not adding any additional names to that cornerstone on State Street?
Great question. Something I've been working on since I've been on council, and a little bit before that too. So yeah, we have the young lady that was hit by the police officer. We also have the 2 young juveniles that were, I guess high velocity at that time at night, and 2 juveniles, lost their life. I think that was last summer. And so, we have all those issues, right? So yeah. So the Croc, advocated, to the city and said, listen, our people need help crossing the streets. Can we add stop signs? And then they added these stop signs in the most awkward places that it's specifically for the walkway and the walkway only. It really doesn't address the traffic issue that exists, or the congestion, or, the challenges with vehicular, activity and pedestrian activity. And so you also have the Criminal Waterfront Park that was just done, but still, as you can see right now, what the next phase is going to be the outskirt, which is going to be adding like a whole entire sidewalk. And, now they're going to officially be able to do the crosswalks and put lighting up and, address some of the traffic stuff. A couple of years ago, when Mastery was doing her school in that corner, I said, you know what, what you guys should really do. If you're, one of your targets, community is going to be Ablett Village, because you're right literally across the street from them, and you're expecting them to come here with Centennial Village. You should do a walk hallway, so that way our kids could just avoid all that congestion down there, and they can just walk through the bridge and get to school safely, and vice versa. And so, that was something that then the CEO and, the high people and administration were open to. However, it's a mayor's job to continue those conversations to make sure that it gets done. I mean, as a councilwoman, I advocated for those things and I got a consensus, but, I can't administer the work. It's not my role. And so, sadly, it's been like that for a couple other projects that I've been working on in the ward, which is another reason why I'm just seeking the office, because I can get what I need to get done, and then I can do it for everybody else as well. But some of these things do require administration to perform the duties to get the things done. And whether it's a priority for me as a politician and a representative of the ward based off of my constituents' concerns and the data, obviously, that follows it. But I need a mayor who's going to be able to get it done, who's going to be able to communicate with their directors, be able to, get outside resources, to be able to contribute to the cause, to, put a plan in place in motion to get it done. And so, to that, I say the sidewalk is going to get done on the side of the park. Another issue is Title 39 enforcements from the police department. They need to be doing Title 39 enforcements. Like, listen, I understand that past chiefs had all had the conversations. They don't want to be punitive towards our community, and they don't want to impose fines, and, they're already challenging times. I understand and I get all that. And yes, I agree. But you know what? We have to start somewhere, and we do have to enforce for some things, especially things like that are really affecting the quality of life for our people. If we have cars speeding up and down, people listen, I got hit by a car when I was a kid, so I'm a little traumatized when I'm crossing big streets like that. And I've worked a long way to overcome that trauma, but there are times where a road like that, like I would get triggered and I would not cross unless I'm crossing with someone. And so that's me. Imagine regular people who are just crossing and then are killed. Like what? And so we need someone who's going to look at that entire area and do a study and be able to make sure that, the traffic flow and the pattern, is going to be, concluded. And we're going to solve those issues. I mean, it's a county road too, right? And so making sure that the planning not only happens on the city level, but also on the county level, and I'm not saying, it's a county road, right? It's the county's responsibility as it should be, but really like it's a Camden County road. Like we have to take priority for it. We have to show them it's important so that we can advocate for it. And I'm sure they would have no problem, contributing resources or funds to make it happen, as they've done in other things in my ward that I haven't had a problem with getting through. And so, I just think we need, a mayor who's going to be able to, be ready to fulfill those things and to get that work done. And that requires them not focusing on national issues, focusing on more local issues, homegrown issues, and addressing those. Let's leave the national stuff for other folk right now. Like we got to take care of our people.
Councilwoman, real quick, with things about to open back up to some form of normalcy, is there anything coming down the pike? We talked about the safety of children and things of that nature. I know growing up there was recreation and there was POW and things of that nature. Is there any discussions about things that are about to open up for the children to kind of keep them busy and occupied this summer moving forward?
So far on the agenda, all we've gotten is a summer program application that the city's applying for. And then this most recently, they, on the agenda, we approved for them to put in a grant for some funds to be able to rehabilitate our recreational facilities or enhance them and stuff like that. Now, I did send a follow-up email asking for the application so that I could read specifically what the application says and to see, what information and data they use to write the application based off of what they're saying the needs are versus what, I know what the needs are in my community. So I just want to make sure that Ward 4 is taken care of. And that if anything needs to get taken care of, that I can follow back up to administration and be like, listen, there's some things that we need to include in this. And so that's what I'm doing as council person. No, other than that, I have not heard any conversations. And that's the problem. Like, even with the $68 million that we're supposed to be getting from President Biden's American Recovery Plan Act, like every week I'm sending an email, like, where's the money? Show me the money. Where is it? And they're like, oh, we don't have it. We don't know anything. I'm like, we're going to follow up. We'll call you right back. Okay. No, nothing yet. Oh, okay. Well, why is there so much speculation around that the money's coming? But then, like, where's the communication? Why isn't like the state or DCA, following up and giving us the information that we need as elected local leaders? And, maybe if we wasn't going through this clown of a show about, mayors resigning and then being appointed and then endorsed and all this other mess, maybe we would be able to have, be constructive and have conversations with governor and top state officials that actually, be able to understand where our money is, and what that looks like when it's coming. And, I read the plan. I know what the allocation is going to be made for, but locally, who do we have in City Hall that's talking about Camden and how we're going to allocate that into our budgets based off of the challenges that we have, that we know we have. Just last month when they were making the mayor appointment, there was on the agenda a budget audit finding that we get every year. And, us as board members, council members, we voted yes and agreed that we read those audit findings. At the very least, even if you didn't read the whole report, you read the sections of the findings. And so, I was able to send a follow-up email, like, what is the finance department's plan in addressing these findings? And, I'd like to set up a meeting, talk to the finance director so that I can get a better understanding of what he or she plans to do with correcting these issues. Because if we can't be fiscally responsible and we can't manage our budget, we're never going to be able to get under, state oversight. And if we don't begin to, find creative and innovative ways to build our revenue in our city budget, we're going to keep being dependent all the time. And it's going to give them the political power to decide things over us, no matter how much independence we want. And so, I think those are really important to our identity, and addressing. And I think having someone who is going to fight for our people and not, just be, favored a position based off of, I don't know, high school behaviors. Like, really? Yeah, no, our people don't deserve that.
One of the things that I used to love was coming back in the 90s during my summer break from college and working at like Rowan College when they offered the CHAMP program as a student counselor. Not only will we get paid, but the students got a subsidy at the end of that. That's 6 to 8 weeks, right? It was like 6 to 8 weeks, and the kids would get a subsidy.
Yeah,
and we would get paid too. And it was wonderful. Me, Ward, and Eric, we benefited from that. And then me, I remember Eric and Keith, we can go back as far as being workers in recreational programs for kids at the different schools in Camden. I like, does this even exist anymore? You know, recreational programs and these college bound summer programs just have been just done away with. Like, they are not essential or not needed. Those were helpful in propelling us into our years of college, not just financially, but also the growth that we experienced as well. And now that these things have been taken away, you don't really see any type of tunnel or train to connect kids with not just subsidy or job opportunities during the summer, but also college related, having that drive to want to go to college.
Right. And some of those programs, are still there. The Rowan Outward Bound, I also worked for them. Great program. And I was in the cause alumni, with the aquarium program, environmental science. But yeah, CHAMP is still, but you know what we need to do?
We need more of CHAMP.
So many great programs. We need to expand them. And we need city government to lead those programs and educate our people. Our people are expecting us, to give them all the information and the resources they need. We need to build a hub, an umbrella that everyone can come under, a committee based off of residents. That's why we need our community centers open. All those flyers and all those opportunities to be built in our community centers so that kids can not only seek refuge in our community centers, but they can also enhance themselves. They'll have their own a la carte service of programs on what you want to attempt based off your interest. You like fashion, you like robotics, you like gaming. My daughter's a gamer and she loves drawing enemies. And so, we got to meet the kids where they are. They like music, they like to sing, dance, everything. Our community centers need to be the hub for that. And, we need a mayor that's going to be able to join everyone under the local government umbrella to be able to educate and inform our people and be that voice of reason and to be that communicator. So that everyone is at the table, having the same conversations, and our people and our family are getting what they need. So that we can move on to the other challenges that we have to address,
Keith, you muted. Unmute yourself, Keith.
Oh, I'm saying here. So, a question from one of our viewers in the comment section, Evangelista Batista. What's your thoughts that council are asking for a $550 million to do a facade of the RCA building? How is that a priority? What's the urgency to shift that huge amount when we have dire needs in the city that needs immediate attention?
I agree, Ms. Batista. And even though that was grant, still that grant could have went to other
that's a lot of money.
Other programs and services. And so you're right. Like, why is that important? Why it is a priority? There's so many other things we could be using that for. So, we got to hold our council members accountable. And, where did that come from? Who proposed it? The former mayor or the current mayor or the transitional one, right? So let's keep a close eye on what's going on our monthly agendas. It's really important, especially from what has been happening recently with the transitions of powers and us currently in an election. And so I get that, we have an election, everybody should be focused on what candidate they're going to vote for, but equally pay attention to city council and all of its, moves for the next several months.
That's $500 million going into what? Just remodeling the RCA building?
But I'll definitely look more into that agenda item and get more additional information and, hope to share it on my page.
That's a $500 million right there.
That's $500 million.
On a facade
to read there.
On a, like, for
I mean,
what?
it ain't a new building. It ain't a state-of-the-art building.
Listen, they crushed us that last meeting. They had 50 items on that agenda. And then they had the nerve to want to propose a special meeting afterwards for another 10 items. I'm like, what are y'all doing? What is going on? Like, y'all doing too much right now. Especially especially y'all doing way too much, especially for the messy circus y'all doing with all this transition.
Right. In a transition year with all of these large items.
Vic was quiet the last 4 meetings. He wasn't even saying anything. Like, had no opinion whatsoever. Like, these people need to be held accountable. They really do. They do. Like, he should not have been excused from not having an opinion, voting yes on turning over city finances, and then, now you're a mayor and you're still not saying anything. You're just out there giving us a show. Like, we don't want a show. We want you to do some work.
And this is why it's important for residents to be informed and to attend these council meetings every time they come out, so we can know exactly what's going on in the city, because it really directly affects us. Y'all got another one? I got another one. I got another one. If you want to end it with this last one,
no, go ahead. We could wrap up with this last one unless somebody has something else.
No, all right, wrap it up.
All right. Well, let me hit you with this, Miss Felisha Reyes-Morton, Councilwoman of the 4th Ward, running for Camden City Mayor. We appreciate you coming on here. It's a lot of comments, a lot of heat in the comments. And the one word that I threw at Theo Spencer, who he's not running on the Democratic ticket, but he'll be running in a primary, he informed us. A word I hit him with, and a word I hit Elton with, Elton Custis, who's running also on the Democratic ticket. This one word I hit him with was autonomy. And the question that I asked really revolved around the fact that it just appears, again, not having a seat on the council, but being a resident long time here, that Camden School Board is pretty much seems to be under state control to a certain extent. They then not too long ago, there was a fight over whether or not our city's finances should be county controlled. That had to, come to a judge to kind of determine the outcome of that. Then we look at the Camden police. Is it Camden City or Camden County? All of these things just seem to be out of the control of people who live in the city to have a voice or a say-so in any matters that might concern the politics or government here in the city. So as mayor, newly elected, after the election, the smoke clears. How do you feel that your vision for the city will be able to effectively be implemented when so many things or resources that you might need are out of your control or at a stranglehold, that other people may control what type of power that the mayor of the city has? How can any mayor effectively implement their vision for the city if you are just handcuffed at what you're doing, what you want to do for the city?
We have the power to do all that great stuff now, and sadly, we don't use it to our advantage for the betterment of our people in our city, in our positions. And so I think, continuing to support nonpartisan elections for school board is important. As a community, we need to come together and we need to educate, empower our residents and train them to be, people of leadership so that, they feel comfortable and confident in making decisions and leading charges on the community's behalf. We need to, as far as the policing is concerned, we need to put in a citizen, review board oversight on behalf of the city to be able to first communicate with the police, right? Because now we got to go through the commissioners. And, my experience with council meetings lately, it's like, it don't matter who attends those meetings. They're not listening. They're not jotting on down. They ain't thinking about putting no plan together about addressing issues that have to do with our community. You always got to take another politician to come in the room for somebody to do something. Like, why? That's unnecessary. Like, but we had a citizen review board. we won't be having no issues, because I know they don't want Ms. Jones screaming at them on the council meetings every month. They're going to do what that board want them to do. And the community is going to have a voice, and they're going to feel like they can build a rapport and a relationship with, our public safety, officials and department. And so, you know what? It's a best practice. They're doing it everywhere else. It's being introduced. And so, we should introduce it as well. And it'll fill the gap of the governance that was stripped away when, the police form was formed, years ago. And so, I would, so what would I do? I fight hard for my city and my people. And so being able to caucus with the Democratic Party and being involved in the system for 12 years and my experiences and being able to build a network that I've been able to build, it has, put me in a unique position where, I'm able to understand the challenges that exist, right? Understand the systematic processes and, what fractions of those need to be changed. And, there are a lot of experts surrounding the city and these issues that are, from Camden and that can partake in these conversations and, be a part of that change. And so I think also calling people out where it's wrong is going to be important. And Camden City needs a mayor where they're going to call somebody else on their BS. And, that accountability is going to allow for people to, one, level themselves down, to be able to understanding, and hearing us out, and, working together to, make effective change. And so I think, now what we have are, people who aren't independent thinkers, individuals who, aren't good really with follow-up, and, people that, don't know how to navigate the systems, to, benefit the community. And, I find that troubling. And, it's difficult work, right? It's not for everybody, but you know what, at some point, if it ain't for you, you got to go and let someone else take that seat and let them, take the charge of, doing what we need to do. But, for, you not be equipped for those type of things and, still hang around, and think, you're the best thing that God's put on earth. It's just crazy. So, I think, we need someone who's going to be able to understand and have all those conversations. And so, being involved for the past 12 years in all these different, parts of the world and, not the world, but, the Camden political, world and administrative world and, has uniquely just placed me to be able to have those conversations for all of us and to educate people, and to bring people along in that journey, as I've done with everything that I've done for the past 12 years in my involvement, so that, others can, take on and after, once I move on and, we can continue to build the culture, and generational wealth that our communities have so long asked for.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any lasting thoughts that you would like to leave those that the residents of Camden with coming June 8th for June 8th?
Well, thank you all for, hearing me out, and joining on the conversations. I'm looking forward to joining on many more conversations, stay in touch with my campaign trail. You're more than welcome to come visit me at any event, to come, talk to me about anything or get further clarification or information. June 8th, it's voting day. And, we're going to come to a sad reality. A lot of our people are not going to be able to vote because they're unaffiliated. But you know what? We're going to keep pushing. We're going to encourage everyone to vote. And if you are offered the opportunity to vote in this partisan election, vote column 5. I'm Felisha Reyes-Morton, and I'm in column 5. And, after this election is done, we're going to continue talking about the changes that need to happen in our city. And, we're going to address them with this political process that we've all been experienced lately, and we're going to start there and we're going to keep it moving. So, I look forward to, your support, or, your participation in general is just important. And so it's about getting those numbers high and out there so that, they can hear Camden people screaming out, that, we make our decisions around here. They don't get made for us.
Thank you. Felisha Reyes-Morton, Councilwoman, Camden, New Jersey, 4th Ward. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Councilwoman Felisha.
Thank you, guys. I had so much fun.
Appreciate you.
More relaxed.
Yes. We appreciate you coming out. We'll be staying in contact, communicate.
Oh, that's always by choice. You can always have the wine and cheese at your side.
Another dope conversation. Please go to our platforms, JOT with the Fellas. We are all on all platforms now. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Anchor. We're on iTunes and tune in. So check us out. Go to our platforms, download our content, communicate with us, interact with us. We looking to have some more dope conversations with the fellas, bring some more entertaining guests on. Thank you, Felisha Reyes-Morton, again, Councilwoman, Camden City, New Jersey, 4th Ward. We appreciate you, my sister, and thanks for having us. This is another dope episode of Just Our Thoughts with the Fellas. Peace.